She picks on you big time.
You want to move, Mr. Mayor?
She picks on you. You gotta stop giving her ammunition.
But she won't let me give her any trouble. It comes right back at me. Tough, immediately.
I don't mess with her. Hey, our glasses are very similar.
I'm sorry.
Our glasses are very similar.
They are. I had a, just could not get used to the first Christmas.
What do you mean?
They just seemed like they were big.
Mine have a tint to them too.
I see your tent. I probably should have gotten them.
I just decided to be kind of inconspicuous. Is yours doing the same thing?
What is it?
I thought our computers have been locked.
I already turned mine in and had to wait a week, almost 2 weeks to get it back. Just wouldn't do right. Karen had it.
I'm just glad I didn't have it.
I had some issues. They came back once I got.
They had to do whatever. Karen, you know I'm not technical, so
We're live, just FYI.
we're live. Thank you, Ashley.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. We're going to call our meeting to order. I'd like to welcome you to our council meeting this evening. If you have a cell phone, we ask you to please turn them off at this time. We will stand and we will have pledge of allegiance by Council Member Joyce and prayer by Council Member Reed.
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear God, we thank you for this day, a day that you have made, a day that we shall all rejoice and be glad in. Thankful for this time, we ask you to bless this agenda that is set before us. Give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to make decisions on the behalf of the city of Madison. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. The record will show that all our council members are present tonight.
Thank you.
Approve our minutes of our previous meetings, work session on May 12th, 2021, and the regular meeting of April 12th, 2021.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes work session of April 2nd, 2021, regular meeting of April 12th, 2021.
Second.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Thank you. Approval order of agenda items. If we can move up in new business, A, Georgia Main Street Gems Achievement Recognition, and we can move that up following our consent agenda right before Carl Business Institute of Government. If we can, I'm sorry, let me go and approve the, if we can get this right before legal matters. Get a
Okay.
motion to approve to put this right before legal matters.
A motion for Georgia Main Street Gems Achievement Recognition to be moved right before legal matters. I would like to make that motion.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Thank you. Consent agenda, Carl Benson Institute of Government Personnel Policy and Organizational Review, Scope of Work. We talked about this in our work session. Airport Land Acquisition City Manager and Harris Tourism Grant Agreements. If we could get a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Thank you so much. So now we are at Georgia Main Street Gems Achievement Recognition. That's you?
Yes, that's me.
Go ahead. Thank you for being with us tonight. Sure.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Jessica Reynolds. I'm the Director of the Office of Downtown Development with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, and I appreciate you guys having me virtually tonight. As the Office of Downtown Development, we manage the Georgia Main Street program, and I have the pleasure of working with 105 communities across the state that are all dedicated to the growth of their historic commercial districts. As you are probably aware, the Main Street approach provides a balanced path towards revitalization with a focus of economic development in the context of historic preservation. In partnership with the National Main Street Center, our participating cities are required to meet 10 standards during the annual assessment process in order to become an accredited Main Street America community. During this assessment process, we work as a team to identify communities which have gone above and beyond in consistently excelling in each of these 10 standards. These cities are lovingly referred to as GEMS, or Georgia's Exceptional Main Streets. And it is because of the Madison Main Street program's commitment to excellence and stable leadership that I am here this evening to congratulate the City of Madison on being redesignated as a 2021 GEMS community. Over the past 3 years, downtown Madison has seen over $26 million worth of private and public investment happening downtown, with 33 new businesses opening and 60 net new jobs being created. Additionally, your Main Street program has attracted a little over 43,000 people downtown through civic events, and that includes 2020. So we know that number would have been higher if we'd have been able to actually get together and have civic events last year. But congratulations, you guys are all to be commended for your dedication to rebuilding the heart of your community. And to recognize the City of Madison as a token of our appreciation for all the hard work that you do, you guys will be receiving a really cool gateway sign that you can put up and to recognize your new your redesignation, and it will read, "Welcome to Downtown Madison, a Georgia's Exceptional Main Street City." And I just want to take a moment to say thank you to Karen and Monica and the entire community development team over there, the Madison Main Street Board of Directors and volunteers, for all that you do. It has been such a pleasure to work with the entire team over there and to be able to learn from you guys and also be able to share the really cool things that you're doing with our other programs from around the state. So thank you for all your hard work and congratulations again.
Ms. Reynolds, we thank you so much for working with our city and working with our city Main Street Director, Ms. Carol Roberts, as well. You make Madison proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Are there any comments you would like to
All right.
add, Ms. Robertson, since you worked with her?
No, sir, just want to say thank you. Her office and her team are exceptional, and they provide so much support to the Main Street program. So thank you, Jessica, and your team for everything that you do to help us continue to be a great GEMS community.
Hey, I can honestly say we love working with you, Karen, and the entire team there in Madison. It's truly a pleasure every time we get to do some fun collaborative stuff with you guys.
So
We
out of the
appreciate it.
150 cities, Jessica, we're near the top, right?
Oh, honestly, yes. Top 10, hands
Top 10.
down, no competition.
Thank you very much.
What are the,
Right,
what are the other 9 cities? Where can we find the list on your website, or?
So you guys are one of 20
One of 20,
GEMS
I'm sorry.
designated communities. We do have a list on our website. I would say you could test me right now and see if I can think of them all off the top of my head. But the ones in your area that are around you are Greensboro, Milledgeville, Toccoa, Athens, Monroe, all in y'all's neck of the woods. But just between us, y'all are the best of the best.
We're not
Thank you,
broadcasting this
Senator.
live.
Again, Ms. Reynolds, thank you so much, okay? Appreciate you being with us tonight. Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Madison Municipal Airport DBE plan, I think we talked about this in the past. David? anything
Yes,
you need to add to
thank you,
that?
Mr. Mayor. This is a redesignation or readoption. This is for the 2021 through 2023 time period. This has to be redone every 3 years, and this is no substantive changes from this. This is really not kicked into gear a whole lot. It will shortly when we are into more substantive work. it hasn't played as much since we've been doing land acquisition, but to get federal funds, you must have a DBE plan. Karen takes the lead on this as a finance officer for the city, and this is ready to go. We've advertised. We sent this document out to several organizations for comment. Received no public comment. We advertised and put it on the website. We've done everything we can possibly do to elicit any kind of comments and have received none. So silence being consent, I'd ask the council to approve this as presented, and we can get it back and get it submitted to FAA through our consultants.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Are there any more comments? If not, all in favor, show of hands. Motion unanimously. Contract Georgia Department of Transportation on land acquisition, remark runway and DB update, fiscal year 21 through 23. David?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and my apologies for talking behind you. It's easy to shoot through these without moving up front, but this is the contract. This is where we will receive reimbursement for three things. The first and most substantial being the land acquisition. I think the contract has all the numbers in here. This is 90% reimbursement for funds that we've expended. First and foremost being land acquisition for 3 parcels, and the next being the DBE plan, the work that went into that from our engineers to put that together, and the third being a project that we're ready to we bid it and we're ready to let it, and that is for remarking the runway. It's probably less than $25,000, but it's included in this contract because it was the timing was right, and they were ready to get it done, and the money is there. So we are this contract is pretty much boilerplate as far as DOT is concerned, but again, you see all the numbers in this for project costs and for reimbursement amounts. I'll answer any questions. Also, page on 74 of the agenda, it calls out the years. We've got money going back to 2017, and this, as you remember, the statement was made that if we had not moved with some degree of haste to commit some funds, we were in danger of losing that if we had to wait another year. So I appreciate the quick action of everybody involved, including the mayor and council, to go ahead and get the funds committed so that we would not lose out on them. But again, this is the DOT contract. We're down to the wire. I'd appreciate the council approving this. We'll get this sent to the mayor for his digital signature, and then hopefully not long after that, we'll receive a check.
Sounds great.
I'll answer any questions. I'll try.
Thank you, David. We can get a motion to approve this contract, Georgia Department of Transportation Land Acquisition, remark runway and DB update, 21 through 23.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposers, none, vote unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Contract Rehab Construction Company, Madison Water Plant upgrades.
All right, they just keep on coming back to me.
Just keep coming to you. So.
All right, this is a improvement project, the Madison Water Treatment Plant. This is the in-town plant on North 2nd Street. We bid this out, yet another upgrade in that fine plant that's over 50 years old, it's probably 60 years old, or 70 years old now. But if you've read through our brief construction agreement, You see that this involves the replacement of valves, 3 valves on each cylinder, each filter. This plant has 2 filters, and the valves in the plant are okay. They're just gate valves, and the operators have to move them and change them with hand wheels, and that bit old in technology. So what this project does is it installs quarter-turn valves with actuators, which will allow that operation to be done by computer, by SCADA. Supervisory control, and data acquisition. That's the fancy way of saying they do everything by wire. So instead of turning a hand wheel, they'll click a mouse, and then they'll be able to dial in those filters and control that. And the project is 100, this was put out to bid, and the successful bidder was Rehab Construction Company, Inc. They have checked out, and it was $123,700. This is funded with renewal and extension funds money that, as you remember, we squirrel away a little bit every month and have some money in the bank to do just this kind of project. And again, $123,700, just the latest improvement in that fine old plant. I'll answer any questions.
What did you say the name of that fund was?
Renewal and Extension Fund. It is for water or wastewater projects, capital projects, that instead of funding them out of one, the revenues from one budget year, there's kind of a savings fund that you can do projects like this.
Without diving into the inch-thick detail that Karen's going to talk about later, do you know what the balance is on that fund?
You're not going to find the balance in that, because those are 2 different numbers. The balance is probably 9.
It's a little over 700,000 right now, and basically this is just, when he's talking about the renewal and extension fund, it's a cash flow. It's a cash account that our water and sewer bonds required us to set up, and make payments into it every month for capital projects and reassuring that you do have the cash flow for such huge projects like this.
And are there other portions of that fund that are obligated that haven't hit it yet? I mean, is it still that
No.
amount of money floating around, or is there other things we promised but just haven't accessed that fund yet?
No, there's nothing that has been promised as of right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any more questions for our city manager? If not, then we can get a motion to approve this resolution.
Just one more quick comment. We put dates in this. We will, as of tomorrow, we'll work to get the contractor, if you see fit to approve this, we'll get the contractor a purchase order or get him approved to get this contract signed. But there's quite a long lead time on some of this equipment. That November 8th date might slip. That seems like a long ways away, but these valves are not on the shelf, sitting in a warehouse somewhere in these actuators. So we're pretty lenient as long as we know that the contractor's ordered material, and then we work with them. So we may extend past this time, but this is not a critical project for us. It's a good improvement, but it may take it may take some time to get the equipment in. So just wanted to make sure you understood about the timing of it.
Mayor, I would move to accept the contract with Rehab Construction for the amount of $123,700 from the Renewal and Extension Fund for this project.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimously. Thank you so much. Resolution, orders amendment, section 58-8, track collections and procedures.
Mr. Mayor, you want to tee this one up?
Well, I can. Thank you, sir. We asked that at our work session if people add to this amendment about trash pickup. We noticed in our neighborhoods, a lot of people put trash on the street on Friday, and I think our trash pickup is probably on Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And we're asking our citizens if they would to put the trash on the street the day before pickup, so it won't make the neighborhood look bad during the weekend. And I think, Mr. Nod, you come up with you added this language.
We did. We simply added language to the trash collection procedures in 58-8 subsection 1 that simply says that you shall not put out your items for pickup more than a day ahead of time. Well, there are always going to be extenuating circumstances. We know that not everybody will catch up to this in real time, but what we will do is we'll try to get the word out. We'll put stuff in the newsletter. We'll just have reminders. If someone does it, we may have Philip go out and talk to them and just make sure we try to get people into the habit of not putting it out too much more than Tuesday before.
Make sure when, we can put that in the packet when people apply for utilities?
Yes,
That
yes.
would be something, I think,
Yes.
maybe do like a little bit of a grace period and then, I mean, is there gonna be a fine associated with it? after
No,
a while?
I don't think so. I think that, everybody puts items out from time to time. I mean, everyone, people love this. I mean, when we have new people come to the town and they set up utilities and we tell them, what all, we put things out at the street, and they, how much do you charge for that? No, it's included in your taxes, and it's just a service, and they're really surprised. So we'll let them know to do that, but we'll have the language in the, we'll put the language in the newcomers packet just to reinforce that, and then hopefully over time we can let folks know, just don't put it out there, too
Friday.
quick on Friday.
Thursday,
On Thursday.
Mr. Mayor, I've had some people that I've talked to, most of the time, when they're doing this type of work or cleaning out their house, it's usually on the weekend. And so that's why they've been doing that. And maybe we could move that date closer to like Monday rather than Wednesday. Or Tuesday.
I guess the manager would have to answer, but I
I'm just
thought.
suggesting.
I think we talked about
We
that last
talked
time. There
about
was a
that.
reason why we didn't do it.
Well, I'm not saying that things around the city are written in stone, but the day your garbage pit gets picked up is chiseled pretty hard. I mean, it may not be stone, it may be concrete, so that's the reason we work around. If someone has serious cleanup from the garage, or if they got that much, then we can set a small roll-off at no charge other than what the dump charges us. I mean, people know that as well.
Well, you mentioned that. You might want to also put that in the information.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we that's quite popular for people who are cleaning out a garage or after after selling an estate or selling a house or whatever. And rarely is the charge over. It's nearly never $100. I mean, it's probably closer to 50. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We can get a motion to approve this resolution orders amendment, section 58A, trash collections and procedures.
So moved.
Second.
Are there no discussion? Yes, sir.
Define trash.
I would say anything like, it won't be like garbage, kitchen trash, but I would, sofa, chairs.
Anything in your house, household goods, clothing, furniture.
Anything that's not rubbish, leaves, and garbage.
And no construction material, no doors, windows, sheetrock, none of that. If you have to tear it off with a hammer, don't put it in the pile.
Any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimously. Thank you so much. CDBG grant application, final letter of support and financial commitment.
That one finally is not me, Mr. Mayor.
Is this Monica,
Yes.
I guess?
Yes.
Monica.
Sorry for my delayed entrance. Had a long conference call at a late hour. So, financial letter of support is a request from the Boys and Girls Club for the final letter that goes with the CDBG. The county's already provided theirs. They've a letter of support, not financial letter of support. They provided theirs this morning, and this is the final letter from the city. This articulates the I think it's 11,000 maybe in the letter. Okay, good. That's my memory right now. What that basically represents is the amount that you're paying for the grant administration that you've already agreed to that's in this fiscal year's budget that will expire. I will have expended all of that by June. It also includes $1,000 toward the audit, because since the potential of the grant will be over $500,000, it has to have a single audit. So basically, that will come out of our general fund allotment for the audit. And so, but what we can do is we get to pledge that as part of our financial commitment. So you're not being asked to put any additional funds in, but we have to articulate our part of what's going in. So we get to take credit for the $10,000 you allotted for grant writing, and we get to take credit for the audit. And so that should reflect everything that's in the letter, and it's ready for final submission to the CDBG grant reviewers, if you find that satisfactory or have questions.
If we could get a motion from our council for this final grant support. I think we talked about this in the past about the Boys and Girls Club, yes.
I so move.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimously. Thank you. Monica, are you next?
Yes, sir, I am. So we have a couple other things that we have to do to finalize our TAP grant. And that is a transportation grant for multimodal kind of things that are happening over on, a potential to happen over on the Gateway area. That's everything from sidewalks and trails and some of the bridges that David has funded in TLOST. What we're hoping is to take all of your projects that you were listed in your TLOST or SPLOST or your general fund for sidewalks that are in this vicinity and leverage that money up. If we're already spending it, how about we match that with some DOT funds? You have to have at least $1 million project to start, and we've got more than enough match out of your current budgets. And so we're trying to pull in some extra, all those taxpayer dollars we send up to the state and to Washington, we like to pull those back home. In order to do that, DOT puts us through a laundry list of extra things that we have to do, some extra training, and they have a shed load of documents that we have to adopt. Tonight you have before you the two things that you have to have in place in order for GDOT to look at our TAP grant. One is the procurement policy. It's tighter than the city, so just think like how you can have a state law and then at the local level you can make it even tighter. Their procurement policy is tighter than your procurement policy, and so we have to adopt their procurement policy to use any of their funds. And most of those have to do with how we advertise and how we procure. David, NBA, I never get that right, DBA, disadvantaged business. There's a lot of Title VI work in this as well. Then the other one is, y'all have already, I believe, adopted the non-discrimination agreement that is standardized for the state. Unfortunately, one of the things I missed in reading that detail is you have to designate a person that has done the Title VI training and will be your responsible agency official. That needs to be me. I sat through that training. That was fun. And so you need to officially designate me as that official who's going to enforce the Title VI clause that they require to make sure that we're doing non-discrimination, which we do anyway, but they need a piece of paper that tells them that we do that. So if you would be trusting enough to designate me as the official who will check to make sure we're not discriminating, following their policy, and if you will tighten down our procurement policy with the GDOT policy adoption, that should be the last of the initial paperwork for submittal.
Is that a question for Monica?
Earlier in your comments, did I hear you use the word shed load, or was I mishearing that?
I'm really glad I used the word shed load instead of other things. It's been a big day,
I'm going to use that word, I like
a
that.
shed load.
Never thought I'd hear that in a city council meeting, Mr. Mayor, but.
How about a raft of documents that you have to adopt?
So, so what's the possible amount of money that we will receive from, I mean, what's the maximum, and there's no guarantee that we'll get this, right?
This is not a guaranteed
Yeah.
grant. We have just started packaging it. The last time we got one of these, the form it took was an iced tea. And David, we got 2.1 million or something to do
Which project was that?
that would have been the light and sidewalk project down 441 in 1998.
I'm not sure if it was that much. I can't remember what it was. It might have been 800 and then 600 or something like that, 1.3 or 4 million.
Okay, so I don't want
Give
to
or take
say
a
the
couple
total.
100,000.
Okay. So what we're hoping is to take projects that are already in your transportation budget plan and leverage that up. So it has to be at least $1 million project. The likelihood is it might be close to $1.5 million. And if we're putting in, ours is 20%, and that would be out of funds you've already allocated. So the match would be the residual out of that.
Gotcha.
Does this cover, maybe I'm totally off base, but does this cover the remodel of the, behind the liquor store down there by West Washington Gateway?
No, sir. This would only cover transportation-related items. We're still working with the engineer to identify what the string of those would be, but it would cover, I'm going to give you examples. It would cover sidewalks, stormwater ditch closing in order to install a sidewalk. It would include crosswalks, traffic signage, trails, trailhead restrooms.
Could be relocation of
bridges.
water and sewer if necessary. and
Could be
infrastructure.
relocation of utilities if necessary. It also covers acquisition of any land that would be necessary to install those transportation facilities. But in this area, most of the land is already owned either by the Development Authority or the city. So therefore, I'd see us leveraging most of it for construction and engineering cost. Phase one is engineering, and so as we work through that process, I'll be able to answer your question more specifically with what it includes, what it encompasses, and how much. But they make you do all these baseline levels of proficiency to even be able to apply. So this should get us in good standing. We did talk to the engineer on Tuesday. Keck & Wood is who we're working with to complete the TAP grant. They actually do all the engineering and the paperwork, and you'll be seeing more materials out of them. They're examining 2 different project lists, and those will be submitted to David for his direction and review. So they're looking at feasibility, and as that comes to fruition, your first award out of DOT is for the design and engineering. And so I asked a little question. I was like, well, you don't get your phase 1 award and then you don't get all the money at one time. And they said, no, they fund your design and engineering and then your construction. And I said, well, how sure we are that we would get construction if we get design and engineer funded? And the answer was, well, they don't want to pay cities to design and engineer if they're not going to fund the project down the road. So it's not an absolute given, but if we get the design and engineering, it's a pretty good sign.
What's the timeframe once we?
They tell us a TAP grant's 6 years.
Okay.
2 years for application and award and acquisition, which that should be narrow since we don't really think we need much acquisition. There might be some right-of-way to be able to do some utility realignment that we might need. And then 2 years for full engineering and running through DOT's processes for review, and then 2 years for actual construction. So 6 years for reality, sounds like a long time. But you got to get started somewhere.
Doesn't take long.
Any
more questions
questions?
for Monica? If not, we can get a motion to approve this TAP.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes, sir.
move that we adopt a GDOT procurement policy and that we designate Monica Callahan as the responsible agent official.
I'll second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Thanks, Monica.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
Fiscal year 22 budget work session, and Karen has mentioned to me earlier that she has nothing to add to the budget work session. So if any of you have any questions for Karen? And as I often say, if you have questions for her during the day, if you would just go by and talk to her one-on-one, I'm sure she'll be happy to entertain questions, Karen, with you, if our council members could get an appointment with you.
Is this posted online yet, do you know? Is it going to be, or?
I'm not sure, it's just a question for Karen.
There's probably only two choices on there.
I didn't pick them. Yes, it is posted now online. And I just asked the city clerk to put this on the agenda tonight in case y'all did have any questions, or if you wanted to discuss anything further than what was presented on April 30th. Would like to mention too that on May 21st, that's next Friday, a week from this Friday, is the public hearing at 8:30 in the morning.
Thank you.
When will we adopt, what's the date of the adoption?
At your regular meeting
June
in
14th.
June.
Okay, all right, so it's a regular meeting, not a...
Yes, it
okay.
is.
And will the actual adoption on June 14th, will there be an opportunity for the public to make comments or that, at that time, or is that turkey cooked?
The official advertised public hearing is the May 21st date. It is your discretion if you would like to have additional comments on the day that you adopt it.
Okay, so as far as the public can write in things, but as far as saying something in person or virtually, we're looking at the 21st.
May 21st is that date,
Friday
yes.
morning at 8:30.
Yes, sir.
Is there, let me ask you, when I go under the fiscal 2022 budget, which is tab 6, there's like about 3 inches of paper in there. Is there not you remember back in the old DOS days when they had computers with DOS? I had a book, it was called DOS for Dummies. You don't remember DOS even, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of you
No,
older
sir, I
people
don't.
might remember.
She's not a dummy.
Well, there you go. But is there not a budget, couple of pages that does the broader categories rather than the important but kind of overwhelming detail that are in there? For, I know the 5 or 6 major sources of revenue as opposed to the 8 or 10 major sources of expenses, so that we can, to make it easier for me to compare where we are. I mean, is there such a thing?
You
or-
have your history under trends and analysis that does kind of narrow it down and break it down more, and it has a 10-year history. Now, of course, it does not include what it is in the current proposed budget, but it does give you a 10-year history of what revenue categories we have collected over 10 years, as well as
And then I did have a
expenditures as well.
I know the mayor suggested we do this individually, but I'm going to just kind of, with your indulgence, Mr. Mayor, quick question. So as far as some of the revenues, we have 2020 numbers. Is that because the tax revenues are on a calendar year and we are on a fiscal year? Because we don't have 2021, or excuse me, let me misspoke here. Some of the revenue numbers don't have full 2020, which I would have thought 4 months into it, we would have all of that now. Am I missing?
That is actually, are you talking about your line item budget?
Yeah.
The line item budget is only, actual year-to-date is half a year. But yes, I can easily update that.
And I think at one point you said you're expecting property tax for the missing component to be up about 6% for for
The
the sales
di-
tax, or up 6% for the 2 months that are missing, that have yet to be accounted for.
No, the property tax digest is up about 6%.
That's where I got that number, okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's taking into account the reassessments because of the higher sales, but also the addition of a lot of new construction, I would imagine, as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the sales tax, you add up at about 16%. Have I gotten that number right? That was some notes I had from when you did your presentation. About 150,000.
Actual sales tax currently is about 21% higher
Is
than what it
more.
was at this point last year.
All right. So my 16 was kind of a low ball for the 2 months that are yet to be accounted for, right?
Yes. I'm not sure where the 16% came from.
Okay. Then I'll talk to you later. I have a question about reserve fund as well. But we'll get you in your office.
That will be fine.
Any more questions for Karen? If not, I would still please suggest that you go by and talk to her. If you have questions for her to specifically answer for you. Okay, thanks, Karen. Appreciate that. Election of GMA District 5 officer for 21-22 calendar year. And may I add now, this is just a selection nominating committee, but if any council member would like to serve, you're certainly welcome to write your name in.
You served, didn't you? What were you, the second vice?
I served as president.
President,
of
that's right.
5th District, yeah. If not, we can get a motion to approve these GMA District Office for District 5. President Ray Martinez, Mayor Logansville. First Vice President Jane J.
Oh, my God.
I can't let
Schneider.
Ashley run.
Good
Robert
Schneider,
Schneider. Councilmember Auburn. Second Vice President Hardy Johnson, Councilmember Brazelton, and Third Vice President John Howard, Mayor of City of Monroe.
Are you in a position, Mayor, to I know it kind of puts you in a funny position. You're comfortable with this slate for those of us that don't necessarily know them?
I am, yeah.
Thank you.
The mayor's been so active in GMA,
Yeah,
and we
so
appreciate
that's why I'm asking.
him representing us so well there. So.
Thank you. So we get a motion to approve the slate of officers?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would move that we accept the GMA District 5 officer slate as presented.
I'll second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Thank you. This time we've had our review with our city attorney, our city solicitor, and our municipal court judge. And Councilmember Peters Reed were the chair of the city attorney. Councilmember Chris Hodges were the chair of the city solicitor. And Councilmember Eric Joyce, I believe, was municipal court judge.
No, that was
Rick,
me.
Mayor Pro Tem Rick was municipal court judge. So, city attorney, Councilmember Reed, if you would just give us your findings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Carter was reviewed by myself, Mayor Pearman, City Manager Nunn, Councilmember Eric Joyce. We had a very pleasant meeting, a very pleasant review. He is very professional and knowledgeable. He represents the city of Madison very well. The city of Madison is the only city that he represents, so he's our attorney. We are well represented. We get real-time advice. These are the comments of the people that were in the meeting. Always gives facts to the city. He's very confident. And in this age, he's comfortable with GoToMeetings. He's also comfortable with Zoom. He keeps the public informed. He's very receptive. And our struggles have made us stronger during this last couple of years. So we would like to hold on to our gem, Mr. Jimmy Carter. So,
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I normally have Lee Moss every year, and every year the reviews get better. Ed and the mayor sat in with me with Lee, and he is professional. He is what I like about him is he seems to be very fair, and you want that in a solicitor, and also helping people do the First Step, or the First Act program, I think that's what it's called, and diversion program, so that if you make a mistake, that it's not on your record forever. But anyway, I never hear anything negative about Lee. I think the police like the chief loves working with him, and his staff does as well. So I recommend that we keep Mr. Moss on. So.
Mr. Mayor, we, Judge Merritt and David, Chief Ashburn, Beth, and Ed and myself met with Judge Merritt and just discussed everything that happens in city court, from the COVID-19 issues and the new protocols. And, you know, he mentioned that they're caught up and back to business as normal, even though it's changed with some of that spacing and that kind of thing. We too talked about the solicitor and the police, code enforcement, the clerks, and our attorney, and how all that works in hand with Judge Merritt and the city court. And really, everybody was just very, very pleased all the way around. He had high praise for our staff and the police and Attorney Carter, and certainly Mr. Moss. So we'd like to recommend reappointing Judge Merritt.
Thank you so much. Thank our committees for doing these reviews. And we're going to vote on these one by one. Our city attorney, we can get a motion for our city attorney to remain with us.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Thank you. Our city solicitor, Joyce Moss.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Thank you. Appointment of our municipal court judge, Joyce Merritt.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. Vote unanimously. Thank you so much. Are there any public comments tonight before we go into executive session? Any comments from the public? We're happy to have our former council member with us. Joe, thanks for being here tonight.
Did we, Mr. Mayor, are we still on a live stream that requires a waiting period for public comment?
We certainly can, at this time, if we
Can
need
we
to,
give them the number?
before we go into executive session. I believe they have the number.
Did we discuss, and I missed, public coming, I think there was an email that we have. When are we open?
We talked about that last week. Number of us thought we were at that point. At the mayor's urging, we've decided to reopen in July.
July.
Okay, so
our
the
fiscal
whole,
year.
but people can come in, because Joe.
I think we're still limited to, what, the 14?
Chris, I'm representing DDA in case y'all have any questions.
Oh, okay, but still, I mean, so
Yeah.
you've got the other people, so, yes, it's limited.
We've limited the staff. We've actually had people show up, and we've
Okay.
had seats, but we have not opened. We have
So-
strict not to open to the public.
So July 1st is the day for town park. It sounds like that's the designated day for coming,
I think
getting back to
they
normal.
would be getting back to normal in our
Okay.
city, yeah. We'll probably take a look at it, I'm sure, about July 1st at our June meeting, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any comments?
Mr. Mayor, this is Steve Whitcomb of Madison.
Yes,
Mr. Mayor, I would ask you to reconsider the opening date for in-person public participation in your council meetings. The county commissioners have a limited attendance. It is very difficult on Zoom meetings. The last council meeting, I had no audio. And I would just ask you to reconsider the 1 July or 4 July, whatever date you initially talked about, please. My second point, Mr. Mayor, is there discussion today on the use of the old hospital building, please?
we're going to go into executive session to talk about litigation. Once we come back out of executive session, we'll probably make some adjustments, probably make a motion in a second So whatever we come out of executive concerning our pending litigation from our attorney.
Okay, sir.
I don't think you heard me, Mr. Mayor.
And you're having an executive session, and whatever comes out of the executive session will be shared with the public.
It will be shared with the public. The public can, we'll reopen our meeting again, and the public will know what we're doing, yes. Did you-
All right, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Sure. Are there any more calls?
They just need to stay on until we let them back in. Okay, Mr. Mayor.
We want to move, do we want to move somewhere and have an executive session?
No, we can stay here, but, Mr. Mayor, Ken is going to kick off everybody on live streaming while you're in executive session. He'll ask appropriate staff to stay. But when you come back out of executive session, he will then make it so those that are in the waiting room will be back on live again. Is that, did I get that right, Ken?
Pretty close.
Okay.
So when mayor and council go into executive session, we'll remove everybody, all the public off of the virtual meeting, and they can wait a couple minutes and log back on, and they'll be in a waiting room then, and that waiting room will open back up when you open back.
So they'll have to go back, they'll get kicked off, and they'll have to come back on, and they'll be in a waiting room.
Correct.
So you won't come back on automatically?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
You understand that, Steve? You understand what was just said?
I partially do, Mr. Mayor. I'm in Iowa, so I'm not sure how, if I'm in an indefinite wait in the waiting room, that's a little awkward, but I understand it, so
Okay, thank you.
I'll try my best. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the other people that are on the go to meetings platform, are their mics unmuted, Ken?
Let's take a look.
Just want to make sure they don't have comments that we're kind of skipping over. Does anyone that's watching the Zoom now want to have a comment? Ken can unmute you if you're muted.
They can unmute
They can
themselves.
unmute themselves.
Okay?
I think they can raise their hand too. I think there's,
No, we don't have a raise.
you don't have a raise your hand?
No, that's the Zoom, I think.
Looks like Karen Massey. Looks like Karen Massey's practicing.
Karen, are you talking?
There she is.
Here she is. The video's on. Hey, Karen, are you talking? You have a comment?
Oh, hi. Just that this process of going into executive session and requiring the public to have to go through the whole process, are we going to have the same ID number to go back in on, or are we going to have to get another one that'll have to be emailed to us?
Same
Explain the process?
Same ID.
Did you hear that,
Okay.
Mr. Massey? Yeah, same ID.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? If not, our public comments will come to a close. We would get a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, show of hands. Opposed is none. Vote unanimously.
Everybody raise their hand.
Yes. Anybody need to take a break before we go into executive session? Okay, we're good. I think Ed's going, he'll get back.
Well, can I start handing out stuff to sign?
Sure. I think we have time, yeah.
Yeah, golly. This is. No, that's a good idea.
But then you gotta get Eric to stop talking to sign.
Oh, gosh.
Sign the paper, Eric.
Yes, sir. Oh, these people from Cashers.
I've seen people look at the Jones, I call it the Jones house, just one owner though. Did the young couple have a lot of work inside to that?
They put a new roof and they added it out there.
Yeah, not a whole lot inside.
So Chris, the house is gonna jump to the roof
Oh,
now?
yeah, it's really weird. It's not comfortable.
Yes, sir, please. Yes, sir.
I don't, it's really not how, just how the prices. Yeah, I've had contract escalation clauses
Really?
where, I'll pay more than the other person.
Wow.
Oh, the ones that are just automatic.
Well, that's good.
It's not good for me, it's not, I don't feel comfortable with selling houses too, but I.
The old
Oh,
days,
yeah.
asking a little bit more than you expect to get negotiated down.
Well, and that, it's weird, it's a weird time, and but when you think to yourself, like, you're gonna get these houses in 2 years, they're not gonna, there's gonna be a, where's my passion?
Got the side that didn't have.
No, I'm just trying to get them going, because there's a bunch of stuff. And plus, everybody and their brothers in the business, so it's not, you're not getting the quality.
Hate that. But everybody knew what they were looking
They do it, it happens like that every.
at. Every time the market goes up.
And then it's like that. Hardly more. That's part of the thing.
Now you're turning where they are. Go back to the long here.
Oh my God, that is so good. I got it.
I bought some drunken mustard.
That much is all.
I had it on
It's
sandwich.
gonna touch and go on you.
But
It's gonna touch and go. We
fish is really.
gave you the benefit of the doubt.
Also tuna there. The squeak steak.
Yeah, well, yeah.
This one's digital, right?
Yep.
What about the DVD?
Nope. I don't know, does
Is
it
it
have,
only
does it
Karen?
have a signature
I
page?
think Karen's fine.
Karen's the only one who signs it. You just have to put it in there.
So then, I've got y'all everything that needs multiple.
You'll have to come to that.
Sorry, this, I don't need to get started. Easier to track y'all down.
By the way, as far as live streaming, call in, just call on your phone, you don't have to hear you on your computer. Say that fulfills all the requirements. May not be possible, you know, it does.
takes land use and takes all this very seriously. I mean, I'm not just saying that.
I think this council also, Mr. Dodd, appreciate you and staff.
Well, Foster Street was, are we back up yet? No. I said that, I don't know how much finer a tooth comb could be gone through
Right,
and,
David.
when we prevailed in that,
We
no matter
did.
how you felt about it, I think it was a vindication of process and
Had some tough days,
professionalism.
didn't
Yeah, it was
Bitter days.
fine tooth.
Mayor,
haven't been
I assume
completely
I assume you're declining further public comment?
We are, yeah, it's just, the attorney make his statement, that's it.
Okay.
Months have passed since initial feedback from staff, which have already been through the zoning process a year or 2 years ago.
Got a kick out of the references to meeting with
I see, Bruce is back.
It's one of the documents.
Who can I get? Is she on call?
I call Randy with you two.
Lord Jesus.
Okay, I see,
I just told her, I just gave it to James.
I see one person is back on.
Right. I think we're ready.
Are we ready?
We can sit in the cat over there.
We need to get a motion in a second to go back into regular session.
We have.
Okay,
So moved, thank you.
okay.
I think we did it.
Okay, if the public is listening, after a lengthy discussion with the mayor and council, mayor and council have instructed our legal counsel attorney to make a statement on our behalf.
It's the city's position that in order to comply with the zoning law of Madison, that a conditional use permit would be required in order to operate a drug rehabilitation and education facility in accordance with the laws of the state of Georgia and the city zoning ordinance. And for that reason, the city is not going to instruct the city manager to issue a certificate of compliance under the present circumstances as requested by the hospital.
And after that statement, that will conclude our council meeting for this evening. Thank you.
They never took us to lunch. Don't you go there.
I'm just saying, there's tons.